Okay.
Hello, I'm Dr. Bittiker. I'm back to do another pause. This pause is going to be on what's called sarcopause. Another term would be sarcopenia, or another name might be muscle pause. This is something that people see as they get older. They simply lose muscle mass. They become weaker. In fact, one of the things we do in our examination on our patients when we do the consultation for nutritional consultation on our patients is we do a simple grip strength test. We have them measure their grip strength with a dynamometer, among other things. And that's a very accurate measurement. In fact, there's some pretty good research that shows that your grip strength correlates pretty well with how long you're going to live. Now, I get it that bigger people have higher grip strengths than other people do. Women have weaker grip strength than men do, but I'm talking about relative to what it was when you were younger. As you get older, you start to lose muscle mass. And there's a reason for this. A lot of it is due to lifestyle, a lot of it is due to genetics and the interplay between them, but there's a lot of these things that you can do something about, and that's what we're going to show you what you can do. Now, I'll give an example just how important this is. After the age of 40, depending on which authority you read, you lose anywhere from 2 to 5% of your muscle mass per year. And that means that typically somebody in their 50s is probably maybe half as strong as they were in their 20s or 30s, and when you get into their 70s or 80s, they're getting half again as strong as they were in their 50s. So they're about down to 1/4 what they were. In fact, I had people come in here that we do a grip strength on them, and they're down to maybe being able to do, say, 20 or 30 pounds on a grip strength. And that's the point of almost not being able to function. Some doorknobs and things like that around your house require more grip strength than that. So they're to the point where they're almost not able to function. I myself have noticed a decrease in my grip strength over a period of time too, so it happens to everybody. The trick is to slow it down as much as possible. So I'm going to show you some things that you can do to slow down the loss of your muscle mass. It's inevitable, everybody loses some as they get older, but there's a way to slow it down dramatically. In fact, if you're quite old, quite elderly, I say that with love in my heart, after all, I'm 70, you can reverse this stuff. In fact, there was a big study done, I think it was up in Maine years ago, in which they took a group of people that were in a retirement home. And there were some of these people that were bedridden. There was others that were, had to use walkers, and there was others that had to use wheelchairs, and some of them that could walk around with a cane. They had them doing exercises, and some of these people were pushing 100. A lot of them were in their 80s and 90s. They had these people pushing around weights. They had them doing weight training. Of course, it was specially designed weight training for older people. They're not going to be picking up as much as they did when they were younger. But they did this. But here's what they found out. 50% of the people that were in wheelchairs were able to get up to get into walkers. 50% of the people that were in walkers were able to walk around with a cane. 50% of the people with canes or needed assisted living were either able to walk around without the cane or able to go home. And that was done in about 6 to 8 weeks. It was remarkable how even older people who we've been told can't build muscle, yes indeed they could build muscle. They built an average of 30 to 40% muscle strength in just an 8 to 12 week period of time. So, and these were very sedentary people, but with exercise, that's what they were able to do. So I want you to know, I don't care how old you are, you can build muscle, and I'm going to show you how to do it here. Now, the main thing that controls the amount of muscle you're going to have is a thing called your human growth hormone. When you're young, you got a lot of this stuff. It's what makes you grow tall, it's what makes you put on muscle mass, it's what keeps you thin. As you lose muscle mass as you get older, it's because your growth hormone levels are gone down. So the higher the number is, we found out that statistically speaking, when you analyze, say, older people, they're in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, but are very active, very physically active, like people that, say, running marathons at age 80 or work out with weights or compete at 70s or 80s, they have higher growth hormones than other people that don't. There's a reason for that. First of all, they may have gotten blessed by good genetics. Secondly, it may be the exercise itself. So here's what you can do if you want to improve your own body's secretion. I'm not talking about taking the drug. Talk to your medical doctor about that. We don't do that here. What I'm talking about is getting your own body to secrete the growth hormone from your pituitary gland, which sits right below your brain, to do it in the way that your body wants to do it. It's put there for a purpose. Many people have enough growth hormone in their body. It's just it doesn't come out like it should. The growth hormone, it rests in your pituitary gland. It's this little stalk that comes from off the front part of your brain. There's secretory granules in there that release the growth hormone, and they do it in a pulsatile fashion. It's certain cycles. It does it mostly while you're asleep at night. When you go to sleep at night, your pineal gland releases the melatonin, which tells your body to go to sleep. It also signals the pituitary gland to start releasing the the growth hormone that's already there, and that then stimulates your body to rebuild cells, to rebuild your muscles, to activate the stem cells to create new muscle fiber throughout your body. And I don't care if you're 105, this is the way it works in the body. So that's what causes, that's what's in control. So here's what you can do to get your own pituitary gland to start releasing the growth hormone as you want. Number one, you need good sleep. Remember, we talked about that in one of our earlier pauses here. Is if you're having trouble getting sleep, you're going to have to do something to get it to sleep better. The melatonin hormone being released by the pineal gland is the one that initiates the whole process. You can take that in an oral form. We have a thing called Best Rest, which does a very good job of that. It also has gamma-aminobutyric acid, which itself is a very potent growth hormone stimulator, but also calms the brain down. So that's one thing you can do. Also, our good old friend, sunlight. It's a big deal. Sunlight causes a natural exposure to growth hormone release later on in the day. Also, making sure that your bedroom is very dark at night causes a significant improvement in growth hormone release while you sleep, because most of it occurs while you sleep. Also, do not stare at that blue light, which I mean your computer. You may want to get a screen to shield that before you go to sleep at night. That seems to inhibit and decrease growth hormone release. And also, last but not least, is weight training. Yes, exercises. Now, remember, I've also told you that as you get older, you got to be careful because your joints simply won't take what we did before. That does not mean you can't build big joints. What I recommend in the past is what's known as a eccentric exercise. In fact, you can go to a well-written book. It's called AstroFit, ASTROFIT. It was written by somebody who did research for National Aeronautics and Space Administration. One of the problems that astronauts get as they go into outer space is they develop osteoporosis, they develop balance disorders, they also develop loss of muscle. Sounds a lot like aging, doesn't it? Well, it's because in some ways it does resemble it. So they had to figure a way to stop this from happening. And one of the ways they did it was figuring a way to build muscle. But how do you do it in outer space when you can't pick up a weight? Well, there's a thing called an concentric exercise where you do it, like if you do a biceps curl, I've shown this before, the initial phase, you take maybe 10 seconds to do the curl with a much lighter weight, hold it for 2 seconds, then take 10 seconds to drop it down. So it's a 22-second exercise with a much lighter weight. And when you feel some burning sensation or you get a slight pump or you get the cog-weaning effect where the muscle goes like this, that tells you that you've done enough exercise. Over-exercising can damage it too much. That stimulates growth hormone release. Did you know that? It does. Now, what can you do nutritionally? I'm going to show you here. Here's a study. Digestion is a big thing with people as they get older. Now you understand why I emphasize it so much. Here is a study that shows that a naturally occurring substance, let me see here, it's called uracilic acid, URSOLIC, is related to the production of a protein called ATF4, which alters gene expression in skeletal muscles as you age and reduces the level of protein synthesis in your muscles. So in other words, a deficiency of uracilic acid can cause you to not create muscle mass as fast as you should, or even to start losing muscle mass more than you should. Now, what are natural sources of uracilic acid? Well, guess what they are? They're apple peel, cherries, prunes, holy basil, lavender, oregano, sage, thyme, and our friend here, the enzyme hydrochloride. It's got the uracilic acid that's contained in the ox bile extract, the highest source you've ever going to find in any supplement. This is why people that come into me that are suffering from muscle loss as they get older, the biopause, the sarcopause, as you want to call it, one of the first things I put them on is a digestive enzyme, because most people simply do not break down their proteins correctly. They may consume it, they may eat their proteins, but that doesn't mean they're breaking it down and digesting it on purpose. Also, you need the fat-soluble vitamins to go along with it, which is what the uracilic acid helps break down. But it also is shown to reverse muscle loss itself. Okay? Another thing I'll typically recommend to my patients who have loss of muscle mass is they got to get an adequate source of protein. This is after doing a laboratory test on it. One of the best sources I've ever seen are whey protein. Now, you vegetarian types, you may want to do the vegetable protein, which you can do. I recommend that you be careful. Do not use any soy-based protein. Get rid of that stuff. It has the opposite effect. It will make you lose muscle. Just stay away from soy, okay? Hemp is okay. Your pea proteins are adequate, but stay away from soy-based proteins if you don't want to use it. Now, this is a whey-based protein. Even people who have allergies to milk can usually take whey protein, But what's got in is glutamic acid and glutamine. Glutamine are your major precursors for, as we use in our patients to help the cells in the lining of the intestinal tract to seal up, because it stimulates their growth too, but it stimulates growth all over the body. This is one of the reasons why my powerlifters use this stuff on a regular basis, before and after workout, depending on how they want to do it, to build muscle mass. This is one of the ways they supplement their diet, is with the protein in there. And by the way, this is one of the few supplements that I have that actually tastes pretty good. Okay? I'll give an example of some of the things that are in there and what it does. The amino acids, let me see, let me go down here to the bottom of my research on this. One of the things you may want to avoid are things that inhibit growth hormone release, which are, and I'm going to get to that here in a second, alcohol inhibits growth hormone release, smoking inhibits growth hormone release, some drugs do, particularly some of the neurotropic type drugs, you know, the ones for like depression or things like that, they do it. But let me give you some of the research here on some other things that we use here for our patients. One of the things that we use is and this is really the Cadillac or the Rolls Royce of anything here to use for getting the patients to release their own growth hormone from their own pituitary gland. This doesn't contain any growth hormone in it at all. It's a thing called meditropin, meditropin. You can go to their website, Nutraceutics. That's spelled with N-E-U. That's Nutraceutics. You can see their research on this. This has a couple of unique things in it. One is it's got what's called a secretagogue. I can give you some peer-reviewed search here on the secretagogue. Anyway, in this particular study, this is published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism, 1996. The secretagogues they use restore the 69-year-old person's growth hormone level to that of a 20-year-old. This has the secretagogues in it, the anterior pituitary peptides from porcine origin, from pig. No, you can't get mad cow disease from this. It's never occurred. And also the hypothalamic peptides, also porcine. Those are your secretagogues. They cause the pituitary, or actually the thalamus, to tell the pituitary what to do to release the growth hormone. Okay. You also have the carrier molecules. They're glutamine. One of them is glutamine. Well, another thing here is that here's a study on just the effect of dietary proteins on it. But let me give you a couple here on the ones that are in here. If I can pull it up on my very slow computer. I want to do this very quickly before we come to an end here. Let me see. I'm getting there. Okay, here we go. Glutamine. 2,000 milligrams per day supplement causes a 400% increase in growth hormone. The gamma-aminobutyric acid, that was a very high dose, that causes a significant increase. The arginine pyroglutamate, which is in here, in that particular study, that caused a 700% increase. That was published in the annual conference of the American Academy of Anti-Aging and Medicine, 1997.
Your time's up.
Okay, well anyway, Susie says my time is up, but I just want you to know that this has an amino acid stack that has a very good track record. Typically, my patients will take one tablet, dissolve it in water, and drink it before they go to bed. One of the ways that it dissolves, it fizzes up. One of the ways they find out that it works is because they sleep better. That tells me it works. 5 days on, 2 days off, works really good. Also, we also use it for menstrual cramps.
Yeah, hot flashes.
Hot flashes. It seems to work real well for that. Not real sure why on that, but I have patients that gained some remarkable muscle mass back. I've also had patients that were taking injectable growth hormones from other doctors. I don't do that. I don't do any drugs here at all. And they switched over to this and got much better results with this than with that. Anyway, you got more questions on this, call 800-326-5838. Also, you can share us with your friends. You like us. And we're not going to be back. We're going on a little trip, a little cruise here. So we'll be back, what, Tuesday? Okay, back Tuesday.
Tuesday at 1.
Tuesday at 1. See you then.
Bon voyage.